and welcome to the Bold Black Girls podcast. I'm Aries.
And I am Kim.
Welcome to this week.
This month.
We've had a bold week.
We have.
We typically record on Sundays. Today is Tuesday. The day before.
Blackout Tuesday. Hashtag Blackout Tuesday.
Hashtag Blackout Tuesday. And honestly, I could not record for those days. So we are last minute recording because if I could have pushed it more, I would have. But today was actually a better day. I think I had just had a breaking point this week. And so I'm so glad that, and we're going to get into all the deets and all that good stuff. But I wanted to just kind of check in on everybody, see how everybody is doing. I hope that we really, this platform that we created was for us to really provide a space and a voice for, folks who don't always get that space and that voice. So I really encourage all of you to follow us on Instagram at Bold Black Girls. Check out our website, boldblackgirls.com, and reach out. Send us an email and just vent if you want to. We want to make sure we provide that because I know everybody doesn't have that space to do that. And so that's what we're here for. So I want to make sure to give that disclaimer before we jump into everything. I want to first, kick it off with last week. I feel like, if you've been following our podcast pretty much maybe every week, for sure every month, we're talking about something that has happened, tragic, either with, police, mostly
brutality.
Police. Yeah, killing, brutality, some type of
form
racism.
Towards a Black person.
Right. And I know personally, I had a breaking point on Friday last week.
I think that most Blacks had a breaking point last Friday.
Yeah, it was
the tipping point of everything, because if you go back and start listening to our podcast when we started COVID-19, the first initial podcast, we said there was no race, right? This is just a virus. We don't know.
Because we didn't really know what it was. We were just kind of like, be safe, wash your hands, do these things, and everybody can get it.
Yeah. As it evolved, we learned more and more that not only are we being impacted from a health-wise, from disparities and pre-existing conditions, but then unemployment.
The systematic issues that were underlying rose to the surface, basically.
Absolutely.
So that kind of was already brewing, right? You got your little simmer going. And we already, at the same time, we're over here still dealing with killings from police officers every day. Honestly, the ones that we see, the ones that we usually talk about are the ones that were caught on video and have gotten, the most publicity, basically. But there are so many names, that we can go down the list on. But the thing that got me last Friday, was it Friday or Thursday? It was Friday when, remember when the CNN reporter got arrested on camera?
Yes.
So I think, we get used to hearing these stories and we're like, dang, that is crazy. That is sad. That is not cool. But it started I don't think I ever got desensitized by it, but you kind of take it as this is something that happens, right? And it needs to stop and we need to work on it, but nobody's really working on it. You got your legal people that's working on things and all these folks that's doing stuff, but it was almost no hope really for this to be real change and all that. So I think when the CNN reporter, Omar, I think his name is Jimenez, when they showed that, I'm like, it caught me off guard. I had just finished my little devotionals and everything, and I had got a little update on my computer saying CNN, reporter arrested on camera, and I'm like, what? So I looked, and then of course it was a brother. And I think in that moment, as I'm watching him identify himself and do all the things, right? I'm like, I just started just tears, because I was just like, I am sick of this. It is so clear why he was targeted. And it was just like, that was my breaking point at that moment. And honestly, I had not fully, and I still have not fully watched the George Floyd. I can't watch that for 10 minutes. Like, I knew what happened. I seen certain parts of the video, so I know what took place. I saw him on his, and all that. And we can break that down in a second. But like, I didn't ingest that because I'm like, I can't look at it. Like, I just couldn't look at it. And I think with all the other incidents piling up, it just it just kind of all came for me. And so this weekend, I was outside in my backyard pretty much the whole weekend. And I was struggling. I have been struggling. I have really, really been struggling. And Sunday, I definitely had a glimmer of hope in that Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond versus celebration.
It was really good. I think it's what the Black community needed. And I will remind everyone that Black history is 365 days a year, right?
Amen.
And so there is history throughout, just in general.
Yeah.
We don't just celebrate it in February.
Right.
So June 1st, or the month of June, was designated as African American Appreciation Music Month.
Oh, okay.
And so Apple Music actually is doing a blackout, so they're only playing music by Black artists.
Really?
On their radio. On the radio version. So that is the only thing you can listen to today. So I appreciate that support from them. So going back to the Kirk Franklin and the Fred Hammond, I think that was what we needed as a community. And I think that's one of the ways that we heal is through music.
Yes. It was, I think, okay, so the start of my healing process happened when, Friday, and we can go backwards. When all this started, so let's just back up real quick. May 25th, George Floyd was in, he was a resident of Minneapolis, and he was arrested at a deli, and they called 911 saying that he was using a
counterfeit $20 bill.
Yes. And I think they said within 17 minutes after the first squad car arrived to the scene, he was unconscious and pinned beneath 3 officers, actually 4, showing no signs of life. And the world watched that moment. There were security cameras. There were videos of bystanders. There were just so many. There were people yelling in the streets saying he's dying. He was saying he could not breathe and calling for his mother, who is
his deceased
dead.
Mother.
When you call for your mom, like, you are in the most pain. And the look on that officer's face, that's what really, really. And you could tell, I mean,
he was not remorseful.
There was nothing there. He had his hands in his pockets. This man is in handcuffs.
He was already handcuffed. So the fact that 3 people were putting their body weight on this man, collectively they were, I'm sure, the collective weight was more than what he weighed.
Right.
And he was already restrained.
Yeah, and so the thought process, you know, because I thought about being a bystander in that moment, you know, and you're like, I can't like run over there because they're gonna shoot me down in the streets, right?
Right.
If it was my child, we would have had a bloody day that day because ain't no way I would have stood there.
Right.
You know, it's just certain things that you just be like, Lord,
It's a motherly reaction,
right?
well.
That's totally different, right? But you know, the feeling of being paralyzed, watching someone die in front of your face like that, that I think made people start questioning their humanity, you know, in those moments watching these videos. And I'm actually really glad that they played them and showed them to the world, because I think the world needed to see that whole thing happen the way that it did, for kind of what triggered, you know, from that point forward. We had just got through talking about Ahmaud Arbery and doing the run with Ahmaud and him getting shot down by civilians, not even cops, just random people that felt like they want to go on a lynching spree. Mm-hmm. Breonna Taylor, who, you know, again, police department, while you're in your home, 30 shots from the other side of the door, by the way, while trying to serve a warrant on someone who was already in police custody.
Yep. At the wrong address.
This woman is an EMT worker, for essential worker, first responder. And I'm just thinking, you know, and as I thought through all these, I'm thinking like as a mother and how my mom and dad like check on me and make sure I made it home and things like that. And her thinking she's safe in her own home in those moments, and being shot 8 times by the police. I don't think those people are arrested still.
They are not.
Her boyfriend ended up getting arrested that day because he shot back from inside the house. He did get released, but you know, I think. Oh, and then Amy Cooper. I feel like that set the domino forward. Like we were already like, oh, here we go again, police. You know, we weren't obviously not happy with any of it. We're dealing with it. And then when this Amy Cooper thing happened, where I'm gonna tell them it's an angry black man trying to attack me and my dog in the park.
But let me ask you this. Did the Amy Cooper happen before George Floyd? I feel like Amy Cooper happened first.
It happened before. I think that was kind of that's what I'm saying. I think we were starting to get, you know, after the Breonna Taylor thing, we were like, and then here come this lady, knowing what that means. You know what you're doing when you say an angry black man is trying to attack me and my dog because he asked you to follow the rules of the park and put your dog on a leash while he was sitting out there. We see the dog is jumping all over the place on the video. So clearly he wasn't under control necessarily. But because he asked her, I feel like it was really just how dare you ask me to put my dog on a leash? Because clearly we know that's what the rules are. Like, why would you be combative about that? So I feel like she was kind of like the audacity of you, black man, you know, to do that. This is basically, if anybody had questions on what a Karen is, look up the name Amy Cooper. That's exactly what that's what they're talking about when they say Karen. So when that happened, I think it made us start, answering some questions and thinking about those things of like the fact that she knew exactly the words that would invoke fear in that black man, because she knew that we all know what that means, which lets us know there's problems in our police system, you know, the system we have. Yeah.
Yes.
So we got a lot of issues in our policing. So then,
well, you know, and I'll say this before you go on, the saving grace for all of this, majority except for Breonna Taylor, is it was all captured on video.
Yep.
So without video, I wonder, where would we be?
Yeah.
We have proof, right?
It definitely is helping us with where we are with technology and social media and our phones and all that. I think if we had videos from back in the 60s and 50s and 40s and 30s, we would see a lot of the same stuff.
History
we didn't get to see it. We had other people controlling the media, which was just TV back then. So they can create the narrative. They were creating those movies and things that would portray Black people as monkeys, as buffoons, as stupid, as thugs and ignorant. And so they can control that. Now we control our own narrative. I love that we're seeing these videos of people showing what's really going on.
I am too.
That is definitely, I think, helping people see the reality of these truths that we've been saying. We've been knowing this.
What we've been calling out and bringing forth, but
it's making people not be able to lean on that denial factor anymore. You can't be like, well, maybe it wasn't. No, you see what you see. So that, and then so it took, I think also, and on Friday is when the one officer was, I know the day after that happened, like all the police officers were fired.
Correct.
And who knows what that, okay. But they murdered a man. Like, how are we going to deal with that? And then the officer, Derek Chauvin, whatever his name is, who had his knee on that man's neck for 8 minutes and 40-something seconds, by the way, and then an additional 2 minutes and some change after he was already unresponsive. I'm like, this is just, with that, I mean, like, it's nothing. How many have we not seen? That's one that we saw publicly. No, and I think they said he had like 18 previous incidents.
I know at least it was more than 10, but it was more than 10, and they had never been dealt with or corrective action.
Yes. And so that was like it made us all face some things, like, without a doubt, right? I mean, it reminded us, obviously, those in the Black community who paid attention to Eric Garner when he was saying he could not breathe and was choked out by the police in front of the liquor store because of selling some loose cigarettes, or being accused of selling some loose cigarettes in front of the store. And it's like, I feel like it's always where Black people have to prove their worth life. So if you were like a guy on the street selling CDs or cigarettes, or even if you had a counterfeit $20 bill, which they have determined that they never found that, by the way. So that means you were dying is worth killing you? Is that punishable by death? So that's where I feel like we all have to, not us, but others who have always said, well, just comply and just do what they tell you to do and all that. And it's like, that's not how this works for us. I literally watched a video of a man beat 2 police officers up with their own baton, hop in their car and drive off. And they never tased that man, and he was definitely not Black. They never tased him. They never beat him, shot him, nothing.
Right.
And
well, just in
that happens a lot.
Yeah, this same week, white guy, white college student, went on a shooting spree to kill people. He was found alive and safe.
Of course he was.
He killed people.
Yeah.
He didn't go purchase anything with the counterfeit $20 bill. He killed people, and he is safe.
Yep.
And alive. That right there
reminds us of that shooting in was that Charlotte, North Carolina, in the church with the 9 people that got killed. They had let that boy come in there, sit with them for Bible study, welcomed him in. He went through a whole service with them, and then killed those people. And they took him to go get something to eat afterwards. And so I feel like it's bringing the question of,
what's the value of the Black life?
Yeah, for yeah, exactly. Or what obviously we know our value and our worth and who we are, and I think that's what makes me so proud to be Black, because we have gone through the worst of the worst. And we will not bend. We are a strong people, and we shouldn't have to be tested under these type of, conditions. But I've never once been like hating my skin because of this. So that to me is really the mental, how strong we are mentally to be able to just experience the things that we've experienced. I mean, obviously, like I said, on Friday, I had a breaking point where I was just like, I just couldn't do a lot of things.
I'm with you. I know it was heavy for me too all weekend. I mean, it was even to the fact that I could tell that it was heavy by the way that I was sleeping. I slept very hard and longer than I typically would, because I feel like it was so much anxiety, so much mental trauma that your body responds to that. It responds to all those feelings.
I had a couple things that I feel like were stress related this weekend, and you don't realize how stress can affect you, but it really does. And just think, so I'll back up to that day when I kind of had that breaking point. It was like 8:00 in the morning. I'm at literally putting my makeup on, trying to get ready to go get on a call for work. And I just was like, I knew that we were going to have office hours with my director. He usually does office hours where we all just hop on a virtual call, like a video call, and we'll just talk about different stuff. And I was like, I think I told you, I was like, if they ask me how I'm doing today, I think I'm going to be honest.
You did.
Because I don't know what it was, but something, if it was God, if it was something that just like made me feel like this is the time to speak up. Be bold, right?
Right.
This podcast was not named Bold Black Girls on accident.
It was very intentional.
It was intentional in multiple ways. And honestly, just to go back to people who may be new joining the podcast, that there are so many reasons why. Number one, we are bold in the sense, literally and figuratively, right? But when we were thinking about what we wanted to call this podcast, we knew that we wanted it to be something that promoted Black women specifically, because we felt like people of color have been taken over. And that's a way to drown out Black voices. Because women, diversity, we could say is women, right? So that's easy to check that box. We could just say women, right? Black is too diverse. So we're not quick to jump on Black, but people of color feels better, for a lot of people. And so I felt like Black women's voices, again, were being drowned out. And so we're like, okay, well, this is going to be our space, and if you want to be a part of this space and hear about the things that we're discussing, you are more than welcome. Open door policy, whoever, but just specifically, we wanted to make sure that we were building a community of support, because there are things that we have to deal with in a corporate setting that I don't think any other person has to deal with. We're women and we're Black, so we don't get the guy thing, right? We don't get the male perspective on business, because that's what dominates. And women know that. That's why they're fighting so hard to get equal rights as well. But I don't think people realize that until we get our rights, it's not going to be good for anybody. All these reasons why these people, other demographics, are able to capitalize on the work that Black people have done over years by demanding to be treated fairly since 1619 when we landed here. It wasn't like we were just sitting there taking it. There were a heck of people who were trying to get the hell out of there and knew they did not need to be, in that situation. And so from the moment we got here, we've been trying to get the hell out, right? But now we're in a place where it's kind of coming to a head. But the Bold and Bold Black Girls is really about building a community of support. organizing these safe spaces for the courageous conversations. That's kind of what this is, right? To be able to have these conversations, or we have live events and things, being able to say your part in a place that's safe. Because typically we don't talk about this stuff, at work. We want to promote learning and the development of Black women, right? So that's why a lot of our stuff is personal development and all that. But that came from a Martin Luther King Jr. speech, where he was like, "Build, baby, build." Or you can hear it on the beginning of our podcast. That's why we play that. Organize, learn so you can earn, baby, earn. Right? That is, I didn't feel like bowl sounded right. But this is our spin on what he was saying would be the way, right? And we have to continue to create this platform so that we could be the voice for the voiceless. And so when I got to work and they did that, we got in the office hours and people jumped in there complaining about customers or talking about different things or whatever. And I was just kind of quiet. And as soon as someone asked me, like, "Hey, what you got going on?" And I was like, "Honestly, guys, I'm depressed."
And it's ironic that last month was Mental Health Month. And so we had a licensed professional counselor on, and she talked about having depressed feelings and being in a state of depression.
Right.
And I really feel like the Black community, we are in a state of depression.
Yes.
Right? Or we're having these depressed feelings as a result of this.
Yes.
And so we should be able, since mental health is now something that they talk about all the time and that they encourage and promote, you should be able to talk about how you're feeling right at work. Yeah. I know once before in the past, I know that's something they never would have done, is express that. But we're in a different generation. And I just really
happened
feel like
overnight. It was an overnight, because it wasn't no talk that we all did saying that we gonna start talking about this stuff at work. It just was like, I can't function anymore. It's bubbled over into everything. So I have to say it. I mean, and thank God that I'm at a company. I wouldn't want to be going through this with any other place. At
a toxic company.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in toxic work environments pretty much majority of the time. So for me to have gotten the job in January, COVID to hit, this to go on, like this has been profound. I just feel like God it's a blessing for me to have the company I have, because as soon as I said that, immediately people started chiming in. Because sometimes I feel like your white coworkers do need to hear you. Sometimes it's like giving them permission to speak. You have permission to speak on my issues now. You know what I mean? So kind of when I brought it up, it was like, okay, we can talk about it. Because we all have been in this political correct bubble, especially with the mask of professionalism at work. And so we need to rehumanize business. I'm actually reading a book like that called Rehumanizing Your Business, but it's about like creating videos and personalizing your, the way you do your like sales and stuff like that. But they just immediately started talking like, yeah, I turned on the TV and that's all we see. Like, and we didn't get into depth, but at least they knew, hey, I'm being affected by this.
Right. And so similar to you, I think God has been blessing both Black girls in 2020. Mm-hmm. So I was fortunate enough to position myself or pivot to another company after 19 years. And I was specific in the values that I was looking at when I looked at a company. Mm-hmm. And so when we had this conversation, I think at the time a meeting had already been put on our calendar for us to have. It was a 90-minute meeting. It was like, hey, we realize these events that have led up to this. We stand by you all, and we want to acknowledge and address it. And so while it's not necessarily the end solution, I do believe that that's a start. It's because we need to start having the conversation, those courageous conversations, so that they know what we're enduring. Because literally, like, I know one company had told, I think it was a consulting company. They told their employees that if you need the day off, take it off. Mm-hmm. And I want to say Rihanna, today, she shut down her production, right, for her people, just to have that day, because it's hard to work through this. And last month we talked about mask off. But a lot of times we're at work masking, putting a mask on to what's really going on and trying to function and work through all of this. Hey, how can I help you? And we're hurting and we're hurting.
We're already doing that before all of this kind of popped off anyway. That's kind of something that when we did our event with Mend the Hearts last year, that was the highlight of our, what we were trying to do, and saying, hey, we see you Black women and what you got to do and deal with at work. And let's talk about it, and let's talk about ways that we can try to take care of ourselves and cope with this, because we had we were at a coping place. We weren't conquering. We were just coping with this, and how can we make sure we're doing self-care and we're taking care of ourselves and we're able to mentally, function on a regular, and go to this and do these things so that you can be a better worker. Let's manage our Blackness, right? At work. And instead of managing whiteness, which is that whole construct of white supremacist thoughts and ways that have permeated the microcosm of work and corporations and things like that had just kind of trickled down. And we're not saying that everybody white is racist or none of that, because honestly, our country has racist ideologies that have just, if I send my kids to school and we never talk about race and ignore all of the things, they're still going to pick up those same things. That's why you see Black people who are racist against other Black people, because we've picked up the ideologies of lighter is better, darker is bad, like all these things. And that's taught to us by the way that we deal with race in our country, in the world, really. And so I had a couple coworkers hit me up after that, just being like, wow, thank you for sharing. And they were open about things that they were feeling. Some called, some text, some messaged me on the work. And I was like, wow, woo. I've never talked about this at work, and I didn't never, dealt with it. And I didn't even go super into depth. But Sunday night, so fast forward, what did I do Saturday?
The weekend.
What did I do Saturday? Oh, you came up. Did you come over Saturday night? We went to we did church outside in my backyard on Saturday night. Because I did need that. I needed just a break. I was not, doing great. And Pastor Conway and Jada and Pastor Matt did a talk Saturday night service, which is also the same as what they did on Sunday. But we did Saturday night and sat outside and just watched them. And they did such an amazing job talking about how to talk about race and things like that, and what it really is that we're upset, we're hurt, we're frustrated, we are tired. You'll hear a lot of us saying we are tired. It is, and we don't have to be the ones from 1619 or our grandparents. This is something that just has been a way of life. And I feel like people will be like, well, y'all had Obama and y'all doing good, and you still got opportunity here in America. Well, guess what? It wasn't designed that way. We are outliers in the grand scheme of things. I'm able to walk in certain rooms because of a whole bunch of Black tax I had to pay beforehand to get to where I am, to be able to be in rooms that my certain family members can't be in because they don't have that same access to resources and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's not designed for us. But after we did the church service, every pastor on Sunday was talking about it.
So I'm sure that most of these pastors had their themes already planned out. They pretty much had to pivot according to what was going on.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's just like you said, history to me has kind of repeated itself.
And that was great because Pastor Michael Todd brought that up too.
He did, about the Black Wall Street, which happened 99 years ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yep. It was almost to the
rioting. It was to the date, May 31st to June 1st.
Because the riot started, when did the riot start? Was it like?
I want to say it was Friday night. Like Friday, because I woke up Saturday.
No. It was like Thursday. I want to say it was like that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because or Thursday, because remember the CNN reporter got arrested that next morning and they had already been doing it. He was out there because of the protests or whatever, which let's talk about the language around the protests. The non-violent protests versus peaceful first of all, no justice, no peace. That's why the protests are happening. It's not about peace. It's about non-violence is totally different than peace. If we're just here and we gonna be all in front of your house right now, we are protesting, we sitting in front of your house, we all gonna be out here. There's no violence happening, but you ain't got no peace because you got a whole bunch of people sitting outside your front door, right? If people are paying attention, again, back to those videos and all the things that we've been having access to that have been shining a light on the craziness that goes on, there are people. First of all, I love the fact that there's a lot of non-Black people that are out there protesting with us at the same time and showing their support. But there's also these people who, if you look at the history way back from the beginning of protests, there's always been groups that try to infiltrate the protests and make the group look like they're the violent ones when really they're in there, trying to mix in and look like they're with it.
On the agenda.
And they are doing something totally different. They are putting BLM, spray painting BLM and Black Lives Matter and F the police and all these things they're the ones doing the, breaking windows and setting fires. And they've been catching them on video where the protesters are telling them stop doing that. And they're mostly white people.
And there was a gentleman here in Dallas at a well-known breakfast spot. He got on the news and he posted to social media the video. He says, they vandalized my restaurant. He was like, and I took a look at the security footage and it was 2 white males.
Mm-hmm. And he's a white guy. And he was just pointing it out that it's not the protesters. He's like, we'll recover. We got insurance. We'll be fine.
Correct.
But I want to call this out. So he didn't have to do that. And I definitely appreciated that as well.
He will have a customer in me.
Right. I'm like, we have to go there after.
Because to me, it's they've only one right down the street from us. So yes. So definitely be in there supporting. And I really think that I appreciate people like that because to me, that's integrity.
Yes. And that's the part where, like I said, the dominoes hit, like over the weekend. I just praise all the pastors that spoke on this on Sunday. The message of the Good Samaritan was used pretty frequently, and I think they highlighted a lot of the things that we need to question ourselves about. What are your values as a human being? Are you a person who would say, if it's a white guy laying on the side of the road, beaten up, half dead, I'm going to help him, but if it's a Black guy, I'm not?
Right.
You might want to ask yourself some questions about what your core values are. Monday morning when I came to work, my boss texted me Sunday night checking on me, and he was just like, hey, I support you. The company supports you. We're with you. Like, I wanted to let you know, which meant so much to have those people that reached out, just to acknowledge it. And I feel like it made us start turning our eyes to see who's not talking. Who in my circle who says they're my friend or my associate or,
who has reached
who
out
with me,
yep,
who's silent right now. And I think the excuse of I don't know what to say is gone. You know what to say if my mom died.
True.
You know what to say if, because even like you may not know, you can't bring somebody back, right? But you can say, I'm here with you.
And I'll be honest, you can Google it. It's something out there. We Google everything else. It's out
I'm just saying. So I think something that I'm being conscious of is making sure that my people know that it's okay to talk. My boss asked me if we should have the conversation on our team call that Monday. And I was like, sure. I think it's worth it. And he opened the forum. I was the first one to speak because I know that I'm the only Black one that was, there. So I'm like, let me start first because I want to make sure that, hey, let's see what everybody else got to say. But I'm going to say my piece first. Let me set the tone here. And it got emotional. People were crying. I cried. I was vulnerable. because I felt like it was an opportunity for change and for people to, now that you have been connected with someone, I don't know what your experience with Black people are, but now we've been connected as a team. I'm hoping that you feel some type of compassion for this situation, and sometimes people just need to have a relationship with somebody to have empathy, with them. And I feel like it was powerful. Our president wrote a very awesome letter to the company. Our CEO, he also wrote one last night right after hers. I checked on my Black coworkers, and some were struggling. They were struggling. So there was dialogue there. Our head of HR reached out to me. Our learning and development person reached out to me. They actually want me to sit down with the CEO, COOs, and the presidents to have a conversation now, where they've been honest about, like, we don't, as you can see, we are learning, and we would just, you're not obligated, to have this conversation with us.
They're seeking to understand. They're seeking to understand.
And they were like, we're not trying to solve it, but we would love to just hear your experience. Like, this is new for a lot of people to even just verbalize this. So that's the part I feel like we are at a point where we're at least scratching the surface. I don't know if we cracked it quite yet, but I feel like the talking, your company actually was the first company I saw publicly speak up on this.
I agree. And that was profound. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And I think because they really blazed the trail for other companies to step up and speak up about it.
Because they said Black. They did not say diversity. They didn't say,
they called it out,
equity. They didn't say inclusion. They said Black communities. We support Black people during this. I mean, like, I was like, now let's see what everybody else talking about.
And not only did they say it, so it's one thing to say it, but it's actually to back it up through action, right?
Yes.
We talk about it all the time. You can say things, but it's the action. So for them to even host, they said it first, then they hosted the event or the meeting for 90 minutes, and they let employees raise their hand and speak about their experiences so that others could hear, like, what Blacks are enduring or what they're facing. Then they turned around and we had a meeting today, which they opened it up to the public. And they had people from Soledad O'Brien. We had Stevie Wonder. And I want to say we also had LL Cool J and Melody Hobson.
I love Melody.
I do too. I have a Melody Hobson dress.
That's like woman crush. I just love her. She's just so sweet, and she knows how to articulate our stuff. Like, she just can speak well on that subject.
Which she has a very great TED Talk, by the way. So that's one great resource. I would encourage anyone, a Black person or a non-Black person as well, to go listen to her TED Talk.
Yeah.
She speaks on, I can't remember the name, but it's definitely in relation to what we're talking about.
I know, I can't remember what the title of the talk is.
I'm going to pull it up while we talk about it's something about color.
When you think about, why racism has been able to
colorblind or color brave. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, it sure is. Thinking about how racism has been able to thrive over all these years and centuries, basically, is silence and lack of accountability and political correctness, right? This term that we've created to say, shh, don't talk about that. Like, we just not gonna say it. We know what's going on, we ain't gonna say it.
We're just gonna pretend like we didn't even see that.
Yes. And this is forcing a conversation.
It's definitely forcing some courageous conversations.
It's forcing, definitely courageous conversations, and that's the start to me. A lot of things where people say, I tell people, like, the best thing you can do right now is acknowledge what's going on. Like, it's nothing worse than you being with someone, y'all see the same thing, and then when it comes back up, the other person like, I didn't see that. Excuse me? Were you not sitting here with me? You saw what I saw. Don't make me seem like I'm the crazy one. And that's basically how we've been feeling, over the years. It's just like we are. Oh, so I'm crazy. Okay, so every time I bring something up, it's maybe that's not what it was. Maybe it was this, and that we can't have. Like you cannot.
Or you took it the wrong way, and
right.
Well, that's not. Yeah, no. I know what way you meant. That's the way I received it. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been easing up into this space when we started talking about diversity and inclusion, and first it was diversity, then it became diversity and inclusion, then it became diversity, equity, and inclusion. And those were cool terms, to use at the time. Oh yeah, D&I and DEI and all that junk. And people of color and minorities and blah, blah, blah. And it was so normal, I had already scheduled to have someone come speak next week for, is it next week? Yeah. ATW's monthly meeting about leading inclusively. And I'm just saying that God been planting seeds all over the place, because I feel like what a opportune time for that to be the talk. So, just talking right now is ripping the Band-Aid off of a lot of silence that has taken place over the years. And it's forcing us. I feel like COVID-19 was the catalyst.
It absolutely was.
It shone the light on the, all these dark issues of racism and, disparities in the Black community, because, like I said, I told you, I'm like, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. To quote, Jay-Z, that we've been seeing the numbers because we were counting the cases and seeing where those cases were happening on that map. And you see, woo, Chicago, whoa, Dallas, like New York and all those, areas where the Black communities were that were struggling. And so it started saying, oh, well, they were already messed up. This just got on top of it. Oh, they were. So now it's like everybody's starting to really talk through this. And then the police are still killing people. I saw some statistics that were saying that there has only been 27 days this year where police did not kill a Black person. And on the days where they did, it was either one case or more. So it wasn't like it was like, oh, one day, two. Some days it was 3 or more cases.
And see, I don't know that a lot of us even know that, right? Like, that needs to be tracked. That's a problem.
It's being tracked.
And I honestly agree with you that COVID has been a catalyst. I also think it's been a revelation. It's creating a revolution.
Oh, yes.
And it's revealing a lot. It's revealing the continued disparities and the systematic oppression that's on Blacks, right?
Yes.
It's revealing the companies who are going to stand with us, not just talk about it, but be about it.
Because I feel like, and I told someone this other day, I'm like, if you can respect me, if you can't respect me as a human being, I couldn't see how I could work for a place like that. That's slavery. I'm just working because I need a check here with someone who doesn't respect me as a human.
Correct.
I've been broke longer than I had money. And I would rather be broke than work somewhere where I feel like you don't respect my human, because that's what this is. This is not about politics. Has absolutely nothing to do with politics. Not one thing. And I'm so tired of people making it like the Democrats. We don't give a hoot about Democrat or Republican. Real talk. We care about our lives mattering. This Constitution that we hold so dear didn't even include us when it was written. So us continuing to not stand for that has made it where we got the little bit of rights we got right now. And we just need to, I feel like we need to stay on this momentum and press. So yeah, we're going to be asking Joe Biden something. No, of course we don't want Donald Trump. I don't even want to talk about him because everybody sees what he's doing, period. I was like, shoot, Joe Biden can be quiet. Honestly, this helped him. He could just be all quiet, right?
That's true.
But we still need to be asking for things. We still need to be saying, well, we need things to fix this problem. We need some things. And no, we're not going to get it all. He's not about to solve racism, okay? None of these people are going to solve it. But if every one of us takes our special gifts, there's a purpose for some people to be out there in the front lines. And honestly, white people, if you want to go out there and protest with us, put your bodies in the front of the police. That will be the ultimate stand of
allyship,
unity, and allyship with us, because that's the only way it's going to show, and that's the only way we're going to see who really is who are the culprits. Because I'm for protesting, I'm for all these things. I think all of us have our unique gifts. Like, for instance, I'm working within my organization right now. I'm working within others. There's times where I can raise money. I can help. People are asking, hey, do you know any places that are looking for volunteers for to help people get people out of jail? That was another text I got from somebody in my company who wants to volunteer. They want to help. They might ask where can we donate? These are things that we do well, right?
Right.
I may not be great at protesting, right? I don't. That's not my gift, but there is a reason for those who do. There is a gift for that, and I appreciate every single person that gets out there and put themselves on the line, because these police officers are off the damn chain. They have been throwing. We all saw it. Whoever was watching, because I watched it live happening while that man was at the Rose Garden, opening his mouth to basically act like a dictator. Police were throwing tear gas at people who were literally just standing there. They've been antagonizing. I've seen videos of police defacing buildings themselves and their own vehicles themselves, trying to make it seem like it was the protesters. So there's an evil. This ain't got nothing to do with
Black Lives
Matter.
We
really get to the bottom of all this, it really don't even have to do with race. It's evil. Evil.
I agree.
Evil creates the hate that will allow anybody to treat a human being the way that Black people were treated when they came into this country, the way Native Americans were treated when people came into their country, and basically did the same thing that they're putting on the news saying we looting and stealing and doing all these things. No, y'all did it. And Tamika Mallory, oh my gosh, she said the best line ever.
Great.
She was like, we learned that from you. We learned violence from you. We were not, that wasn't what we were about. And, one of my coworkers said something about, she's like explaining it to one of her family members about what it's like. She's like, imagine some woman being in an abusive relationship and the guy is just beating her and beating her and beating her, and one that she shoots the dude. Like, we are going to say, okay, no, it's not okay to just kill somebody, but we get it. I get it.
You fed up. You had it.
You couldn't take it anymore. This man, oh my God, it was so powerful. I watched him talking to the police officers, like the protesters would be out there, and he was like, you don't want to do this. Like, we want to go home just like you want to go home tonight. I got family too. What you want us to do? Just lay down and die? No, we're not about to just lay down and take this. Like, it's at that point now. We are at a point of no return. There's no going back to normal. Just like we said about COVID-19, new normal. This is the new normal. We moving into new things. All that stuff is gone. It's passed away. We are political correct. No more silence. No more. There's no, I don't know what to say and I don't want to offend. Well, give it a try. Yeah, let me see. Any of my white friends know they can come to me anytime, ask me any questions you want. I do not want to be your educator. Because just like you, I Google just like you. I don't know everything.
Well,
we didn't know our history.
If you can ask me how long it took me to get my hair done, then you also can find a way to say, hey, Kim, how's everything going? Right?
I go to YouTube to find out how to do everything.
And I Google.
And Google.
So I want to say that as we move forward and how they can support us, right? Acknowledge. And basically like what you said.
That's the first step.
Yeah, acknowledge.
Just acknowledge that you see what's happening. Business as usual is over.
And if you can't see it, ask me so I can help you.
No, don't make me cuss on my podcast. We don't want to cuss. I almost.
But there are resources and books you can go out there and educate yourself.
You have to acknowledge that you see it. That's why we're in this place. America has never acknowledged what it's done to the Black body from the beginning.
No, they haven't.
And even when who we call the president was up there talking, first of all, he doesn't really count. I feel like he just don't even count.
We don't even need to talk about him.
It's like people don't acknowledge the fact that there is a white privilege, period. I have a privilege as a Black woman living in the suburbs.
Correct. We do.
I recognize that. There's a certain level of privilege I have, but if I'm walking the streets right next to my cousin, they don't know which one live in the suburbs and don't. That is a privilege that I don't have, where I can just be like, do I want to talk to my kids about this or don't I? I have to. I have to make my sons check in every 15 minutes when they go out to ride their bikes to make sure they come home. We got walkie-talkies, all these things, because I don't trust it, because it's been shown that that's not necessarily acceptable everywhere. So when you recognize your own privilege by saying, I've never even had to think about that. One of my coworkers, she actually listens to the podcast. She started listening. She was like, I listened to 5 hours of the Bold Black Girls on a drive on Friday. And she was like, telling me how, because at work, I told you I'll be dressed up, most of the time, not dressed up, but like I'm gonna have makeup on, I'm be trying to look, like something. And I get compliments all the time on calls. Like, you always so put together. Like, you look good. Like, let me go put some makeup on, little things like that. And she said to me, she's like, I recognize when she said, when I said that to you and you were like, I have to. I forgot that I had said that. But she said, I never thought about it. She thought I'll come from the gym looking gross, don't even care, but we do.
Well, and there are a lot of things that we have to do, like subtle things. We can't go in the store and not come out with the product in the bag or with the receipt, because then we're looked at as, oh, did you steal that? I mean, that happened to me today. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago at Lowe's, I picked up an online order. She put it in the basket. I was like, well, I'm going to shop around a little bit more. Can you put a sticker on there that says purchased? She was like, oh, no, just tell them if you have any problems to call me. Well, in my head, I'm like, this is a problem.
Like that
I'm nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
And sure enough, I'm like, that's nothing you have to worry about, right? Because they'll trust your word. They'll take your word. Sure enough, get up to the register. And I told her, I said, hey, I already purchased that. That was an online order. Do you have a receipt? I guarantee you that would not have been the case. If someone else would have said that, a white person, okay. Again, I would love to test it out.
I know. They've done those things before.
Even how we're pulled over by the police.
First of all, let's talk about anxiety when the police get behind you in the first place.
No, let's talk about anxiety when they get in front of you, because I've had them pull over in the front, move to the side, and pull me over.
Or pull you over from, they're coming this way, you're going that way, and then they turn around and come. Oh, that's the worst. Yeah, it's a whole experience, and I think that acknowledging that you see what's happening, don't do that. Do not act like you don't see what's happening. Honestly, if you're that person, I can't even talk to you. Like, we can't even have a dialogue because you're lost. But another thing I've been telling folks is start at home. The best place to start is with your family. I was a bold kid, so if I heard my grandparents say something not cool, I would say something right then and there. Or if I hear somebody say something about homosexuals, or something, where I'm a straight up Christian, okay? But I also am very accepting, of a lot of things. And so I feel like I don't want anybody being treated bad because of something. I could totally disagree with what you're doing, how you do it. And there's a whole bunch of people that disagree with what I do and how I do it. But I'm not going to be like, ew, I don't want to be around you. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to help you. I'll still be your friend. It don't have nothing to do with me.
Right.
As long as it's nothing that's full of hate. You can't be no racist and be my friend, whatever. But you live a lifestyle different than mine. I'm not going to not be your friend, but I will be the person that will stand up for somebody that I feel like, didn't have have a voice to speak up for themselves. Like, I've always been that. And so I know some people have a hard time doing that within their family, but I think it's a great place to start, like with your racist cousins and people, that y'all know are like that.
Yeah. And I think it's an awesome, excellent start if you can start in the school.
With your kids.
With your children. My daughter was she actually experienced someone telling her that they were allergic to Black people. And then just this past school year, I had another friend. Her son was called a nigger.
The boys heard a boy in their kids club said the N-word, and I said, "Did he say it to you?" You know, because this was like 2 years ago, and they were like, "No, but he got in trouble." Blah 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 blah. He just had said it, you know, like in the conversation, I guess. And I'm like, oh, heck to the no.
So, and we know that starts at home. So that's only a reflection of what's being discussed at home. But I also like for so you have to hold your kids accountable, but I would also like to see school districts hold these children accountable as well, because I wouldn't doubt that there is a possibility that police officer, he was once a student, right?
But that's why it starts way beyond. I'm talking to people who have kids that are 2, 3 years old. Just go read White Fragility, okay? That's your first book of, you know, of reference that we'll give you. But she tells that story about the little kid who sees the black man in the truck while they're in the cart. Hey, mom, look at that man's skin. It's black or brown. And mom's like, shh, don't say that. Why? What's wrong with black skin? What's wrong with the brown skin? You need to be saying, yes, baby, we have so many different colors of people in the world, and black skin is beautiful and white skin is beautiful, and all, you know, like, just create a love, not make it a bad thing that we're different. That starts there. That starts with the same thing, the same energy you want me to give my 2 boys when they say somebody is running like a girl or doing, you know, like chauvinistic type things. You want me to correct that right then and there. You know, that's the type of stuff that we're saying. It's you're watching something on TV, it pops up. I was telling you the other day about how we were watching a Netflix show, Sugar Rush. The boys like to watch anything that's like a competition. So even with it like cakes or, you know, sweets or whatever it is, they just like competition shows. And it was a transgender woman on there, right? And they don't know. I don't be knowing what's going on. Like, they know what, like, they could see somebody and be like, oh, I could tell this person is gay, you know, on certain times, depending upon how the person acts or something like that. They felt like they could see that, right? At this age, they already see that. But like a transgender woman, they just straight put it out there. It wasn't like a time for me to prep as a parent and say, let's have a talk about what transgender is and all that. It's like, I'm a transgender woman, blah, blah, blah. Like, it straight was out in the forefront. This is a time for a conversation with me and my kids. You use these opportunities to say, yeah, there's people that do a lot of different things, and this is the life that they live, and that's their business. That's how I talk about it. I talk about that, about all those things. I said, that's their business. You know, like, we're not going to be like, ill, or I don't like those people, because your boss might be a transgender one day. Your employee might be a transgender person one day. These are the things that why you got bosses out here that treat black people like trash, because their mama did not correct them when they were little, and they did not teach them the right way to treat people. And it went through the schools. They were that same kid in school you're talking about, and now they're a grown up and they're doing the same thing. So to not talk about it, and some parents think that if they don't even bring it up, it's gonna stop them. This is the world we're in.
You have to address it.
Yeah, they're being exposed whether you want it to or not. Like, I'm talking to I've already had the whole sex talk with my sons because they came home talking about, do you know what DICK is? Huh. I do. Do you? And we literally, I'm like, how did you hear that? And they had to go back to what their friend said to someone, and da 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 da, like all these things. So we can't shun away from that with our kids, because it does go into like what you said. You're gonna have kids over here calling people niggers at school. You're gonna have kids, you know, then they turn into teenagers. Then they turn into that boy who was over there shooting folks,
and they turn into that adult cop who had his D on his neck.
So. Exactly. And then another thing that I'm adding into my text message to all my white girl friends that have reached out is, you know, when they kind of pose that question or put it out there, I say, you know, the best thing you can do right now is talk to all your white brothers and sisters about what's happening and actively work on being an anti-racist. It's no longer okay to be like, first of all, I never was. I'm not a racist. Let's just first put that out there. You know, that's the first reaction. It's not enough to not be racist. because individually, most people, probably would not consider themselves to be like a blatant racist, but we have racist ways that we perpetuate that we don't even recognize that we're doing it, and so there's ways that you can actually go get the book How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi, I think it is, and start with educating yourself. Like, all of us have had to educate ourselves on a lot. We had to educate ourselves on our history. I'm still educating myself on our history because we did not get taught that. When we go to school, that's another thing. When we're in school as Black people, we don't even learn about our people. We're learning about everybody else's people, not ours. We get a little blurb in there, but it's not, that's really not the true history. Yeah.
Look, depending on the school district, I got mine.
Well, you went to segregated schools. You went to segregated schools. So, you were one of the lucky ones that got to like get all.
I do feel I didn't get all, but I do feel fortunate enough to have gotten what I did get, right?
Yeah. So I think those things about the how to support are definitely a part of the call to action as well. We can just add that in there. I mean, I feel like that's kind of all in there too. What are other things? Oh, so I did say to my coworkers on the call, because we're really big on our core values. Like, every meeting, we have to say, which core value are you coming from today?
I love
it. Present. So we have all the core values listed, and then which one are you highlighting as you are presenting whatever you're presenting. And so I said, this is we're a company of core values we hold very dear, and our founder was very big on that. And I can tell by the company culture that we have. He did a great job with whatever his plan was and how he developed the culture of this company, because people are just great. Before all this, I just was like, dang, it's cool here, I said, but this is the time for us to ask ourselves, what are our personal core values? And what are you really about? I don't want to be a person where I'm being fake. Yep. I want to live in my authenticity and really be what God put me here for. He made me bold for a reason. I need to take that mantle and hold it. If we all use our personal gifts and don't hold back and be vulnerable and lean into all those things, that's how you're going to find your purpose. Love yourself, lean into your uniqueness and what makes you different. There are certain people that you could reach, I cannot reach. There's people I can reach, you cannot reach, based on our life experiences and everything that we've gone through. And so I think if we all do that, we really will be able to do our part in this fight, because it's going to take every last one of us using our gifts to make this change happen. It's not going to be from some Black leader who they keep on trying to put. I don't know what that is, what they're trying to do when they do that on like all these like Fox News and those places. We're the Black leaders. We all are. We're all Black leaders. We just have, we're unifying. We're unifying. I see it happening, more. But we all are Black leaders. And if each of us take the lead in our area, then we gonna make this happen. We just have to continue to do that. Did you have like some official call to actions?
So, right, because I know we're probably over an hour, so we're gonna I know this has been
but that's okay. This is look. I needed this moment right now, because I couldn't even talk the last couple of days, to be honest with you.
So in addition to how to support, if you are a non-Black listener, give grace to your fellow Blacks. This is a very hard and challenging time. Yeah, literally the Blacks. And the thing is, like, this didn't just start. We've been going through this for some time. So think about all those other times when someone was killed.
You just got woke. They just got woke. They just got woke.
Stay woke.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to have those courageous conversations with your friends, right?
I agree.
Listen, and then learn more.
And don't try to one up the discrimination. It's almost like, I've been discriminated against, and then like, this is not the time for any of that.
Don't negate my experience.
The reason, honestly, I feel like a lot of why we all have been discriminated against, whether you're disabled, whether you're Black, a woman, whatever all the things are, the intersections, LGBTQ, IA+, all that, is because of the same thing that we're talking about. It's the same evil that is there. So I feel like we definitely for 400 and however many years plus, because we still are going through it. It's just in a different way. Have had the most unique relationship with this country and how we've been treated for the longest period of time. So I just feel like if we doing all right, everybody gonna be all right. Because that is the core of like the hate. We are less than an animal. We have been treated less than a dog. That man died in the middle of the street. If they did that to a dog,
all types of marches.
The lady called the police on the black man and was like choking her dog. They took the dog from the lady. I was like, I wonder if they were mad at her because of the dog more so than the situation. But not my business to judge. But I was just like, that we have been treated like that, so fighting for this is the cause that's going to help you get what you need. The Civil Rights Act came from us doing that. That's the same thing that you're using to have your rights, as a woman and as a, LGBTQ, whatever else plus. So we all got to be about it. We all got to be about this and not ashamed and ready to call this out and acknowledge all of our personal biases and all our things. And just, it doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you aware. It's a part of the same thing. We always talk about being self-aware and all that stuff. And so once you discover things that suck, about yourself, you'd be like, "Ooh, I need to change that." It's not going to change overnight. It's going to be a process, and you just got to continuously educate yourself, learn, get around people, like you just said, open those ears and shut your trap. But yeah, okay, sorry, keep going.
Little activist Aries, aka Angela Davis over here.
Yeah, yes. I ain't on Angela's level, but
right.
I have my way.
Be accountable. And then last but not least, be accountable for the role that you play.
Yes.
The role that you play at work, the role that you play as a parent. Just remember
in society as a human.
Yeah. Because I treat people not by the color of their skin, but just by who they are.
Yeah. I think, it's interesting. I saw Bernice King, Martin Luther King's daughter, had posted on her Twitter about, everybody love to quote Martin Luther King now, and they were like, don't act like everybody was loving my dad. That's what she said. She's like, all these people that was quoting him was the same ones he was the most hated man in America at one point.
She did.
And all the things, like, let's remember, that all these negative terms we're using right now were used against him during that time. And now we're saying, yeah, let's go, we love peaceful. Him, but that wasn't what it was, and they were peaceful and they still was getting dogs sicked on them and water hoses and all that. So we just got to be aware and acknowledge all those things. And like you said, be accountable for your little space. It may just start with your family. It may just start within your family. And then for us Black women and men who are a part of this fight, we got to try to, because I'm not the one to tell people how they should be doing this. I'm not going to tell nobody how, they should do it. But I just say that listen to where God is leading you to be impactful, because we have to stay focused in order for this to work. So if we all just start going crazy and letting our anger take over, it's not going to work. I'm not of the belief, like when I watch the news, I'm looking like, that ain't us. I know there's a few here and there that just don't have no moral values. And that's what every race got. Some people that ain't got they marbles together and don't care about their cause and all that kind of stuff. So I get it, but that ain't the majority. That is a very small few. So we just need to start paying attention to, like, okay, you know what? I'm dealing with this, and allowing ourselves some grace for ourselves to say, I need a break. I need to turn my TV off. I need to pray. I need to, because that's what I did. I prayed that Monday morning, and before going to work, pray before you go anywhere where you're gonna be around people, and let's remember to social distance, because we still don't know nothing about this coronavirus. I just want to throw that out there, because I've been seeing a lot of people out there, and we need to make sure y'all got your mask on.
And that's And this is probably going to be this could be a part 2 episode. We could go on and on.
Right.
Because
COVID. I'm like, please social distance while you protest, please.
Because they have already seen an increase in cases in the last 24 hours. So we're going to leave it at that.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. We're going to provide you guys with some resources in our show notes. I got a few links that I'd like to share, and I know we got a couple other things just for your reading pleasure and your information.
Listening and reading pleasure.
Yep. All right, y'all. So please rate and review this episode and our podcast in general. If you want to vent and just share your thoughts on this episode in any way, please send us an email. You can go to boldblackgirls.com and send us a message. You can follow us on Instagram at boldblackgirls. We have a Twitter, but we don't be on there. Like, we be on there doing other stuff. We don't do it. It's literally just me and Kim we're the operation. So we ain't got time to be on every social media page. Instagram is probably the one that we can manage the most. And so join us and reach out. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. What do you want to hear? We got some other stuff coming up, but obviously we want to make sure that we are sharing with our listeners, things that we're experiencing and hearing and all that good stuff. So we love y'all. Take care of yourself, your family.
Stay blessed. Stay safe.
All of that. And be bold. Be bold. We say it all the time. Have a bold week. But be bold. This is the time to be courageous. If your company comes to you and asks you for something, I think this is the time. Not saying you got to be the token. I'm not saying that at all. Do what you feel. But I say that this is an opportunity where if they're asking, I'm like, well, hell, nah, they never asked before. Let me put it out there.
And be bold enough that if you don't see it, ask. Send an email. Hey, what's going on? Are you all planning to address what's going on? I think this is a perfect time.
I've done it a couple times with a couple different groups.
We've been doing it before we had email. You was writing letters.
I'm like, where are we? Where do we stand, people? Just checking in. And honestly, sometimes you need to be that nudge to force the question to be asked. And hey, I don't care how.
You can be the catalyst for change.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. Holla back. Have a bold week.
Week.
See ya.
Peace.